Thanks, Rachel, and thank you, everybody. Good morning. So, as Rachel said, I'm Sam, and this is Jason, just in case there's any confusion there, interchangeable. So, we're really excited to be here and be actually the first duo presentation for Creative Mornings in Poulsbo. So keeping it simple. I have two people, someone said to us. So that's it. So simplicity. So to get us started, what I want you to do, because you are creatives, everyone is creative, is just to think about what is it? What does it mean to you? And I just want you to quickly discuss wherever you are in small groups. A couple of minutes. What is simplicity? What does it mean to you? Go talk.
Actually, should we time this?
Yeah.
Are you timing it?
Mm-hmm.
All right. All right. Good.
Off minute. Okay, so let's find out what you think. So, what is it? What is simplicity? What ideas did you have, Alja?
Removing barriers.
Removing barriers. Nice.
Good.
Boiling things down to the essence, and so that they can be efficient. You have clarity of what really brings you happiness, what really brings you joy, it makes it easy to get to what you really want to.
Exactly. Yeah. So really boiling it down to what's meaningful for you. Yeah. Great.
So
Jenny.
This is something my brilliant conversational partner said. Because I just came off this week-long driving randomly, camping randomly. It's interesting you brought nature into it, because nature is so complex, but it feels simple and absolutely. And so this, I don't know what simplicity is, but I do know it's not absence of complexity, which I thought was really something.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
All right. Shall we dive in?
Yeah.
Well, on that note.
Any other final comments? Yeah, one more.
Being at peace wherever you are.
Nice.
Nice.
Yes. But it's difficult, isn't it? Yeah. So really good. So some really great points there that you've all brought up. So we could talk a lot about simplicity, but we're going to, as we don't have much time and we're keeping it simple, so we're just going to focus on simplicity and the creative arts, focusing on simplicity, complexity, and living.
So creativity, can you have simplicity with creativity? When you look at some buildings, Rococo buildings that are very complex, or you say, well, that's beautiful, but it's not simple. But can you have simplicity integrated into the creative process? Do people think you can? Great. Well, a lot of people have thought about this. A lot of people in all the creative fields. And, all right. And this guy had some thoughts on it. You guys all heard of Leonardo da Vinci. Everyone knows him as a painter, but he was also an engineer. He studied anatomy. He studied architecture. He was a polymath. And Leonardo, like simplicity, worked in all aspects of creative endeavors, all aspects of life, because simplicity goes through all of it, right? And let's take music, for example. People thought about that. Frédéric Chopin, this is his thoughts on simplicity in music. All right. And speaking of, if anyone picked up on the music that was playing when you walked in, if you recognize, did anyone recognize it? No? Okay. It was it was Pachelbel's canon, actually, and you hear that a lot in weddings. People, it's like the wedding music as people saunter in. Sometimes you hear at funerals, that kind of thing. But why is this played? Okay. Why do people choose this? Well, it's emotional. Subjectively, most people find it very beautiful. And so we play it for these significant events because of the feeling it makes you, that engenders in people, right? But why is that? I would suggest because it's simple. It's really simple. You listen to Pachelbel's canon, in reality, it's only 8 bars of music, right? And it's played 28 times. But it's like, well, that sounds too simple. There's more complexity involved in that. There is, just a little bit more. A violin starts, 2 bars later, another violin starts playing the exact same 8 bars. 2 bars later, a third violin starts playing the exact same bars. And if you listen to those melodies, they're not complex melodies, but with that simple layering, you get this beautiful piece of music that has so much significance to people on important days. It's simple, okay? And then what about the built-up space around us, right? The architects in the room could appreciate this. What about our world, right? To make our environment beautiful, does it have to be complex? Well, Frank Lloyd Wright and Mies van der Rohe, this is their thoughts. These are architects who helped define modern architecture in the world today. Whether you like it or not, but the bottom line is these guys have created beautiful buildings, have created beautiful designs. You know, Mies van der Rohe, if you haven't heard of him, less is more sort of led to modern in the 50s, 60s. He came out of the Bauhaus movement in Germany. I think everyone's heard of Frank Lloyd Wright. He's an American, but they created beautiful things, stripping away the complexity. All right? And other fields, okay? Pierre Soulages. All right, if anyone's ever heard of him, he's an artist that worked only in black. You have heard of him, okay? And there have been other artists, like Antoine Matisse made some paintings only in black because it was simple and they wanted to convey their ideas. But he's probably the most famous, okay? And what he was trying to determine was, in part on the viewer, is something individual and intrinsic to the viewer, you know, what they felt when they saw his paintings, right? So I'm going to read exactly what he wrote because I don't want to jack it up. But basically said, he realized that he had a conundrum. He realized that in reality, to be effective, to develop the creative process and have the intrinsic feeling to the viewer that he wanted, color complicated things. He realized if you throw in reds and blues and burnt siennas, it just really took away from what he was trying to do because he was trying to get the individual feeling. So he went with black, and he used black to shape light. Because depending on where you are on the painting and how you view it, and of course this is a poor rendition, it would have a different meaning based on the viewer. And I'm going to read what he said. I saw that it was no longer black that gave meaning to the painting, but the reflection of light on the dark surfaces. So again, you can see where color would complicate his objective. He kept it simple to reach his creative goal. All right.
Yeah, and he called it outre noir, so just so it's all about black.
Ultra black.
Ultra black. So then looking at complexity. So can you have simplicity and complexity? I think you started to discuss that when you were having your conversations earlier. So it doesn't necessarily mean dumbing it down, getting rid of everything, just keeping it really simple. It might be part of that, but that's not what it's all about. So complexity is about having enough simplicity that you need. So similar to some of the suggestions that you came up with at the beginning.
All right, Douglas Horton. All right, this really sort of helps square the circle on, can I have simplicity and complexity, right? And he was an American theologian who really tried to bring all religions together. And he said, okay, what are the common things that all religions are talking about? Generally, you shouldn't beat up your neighbor or be mean to people. So how can we bring religions together based on the simplicity of what all the religions are trying to say? And he tried that, but essentially, this is sort of the core of his belief here. Okay. Next, and to get to what we're saying, getting to the complexity you need and nothing more is simplicity. All right, let's take a look at this drawing here. Who here would want to color this? Who here would find this complex? No one. All right, pretty straightforward. Well, that's good. All right, what age range do you think would probably find joy in coloring this in? 5, 6? Okay, yeah, all right. Okay, well, what about a little older? Or I know everyone's children here, they're above average. So what about this? So what about, who would find this a joyful or complex thing to color in? All right, we're getting, all right, the people are, okay, fair enough. What about this? Coloring this in. It's just too complex? All right, that's fair. That's a very good point. Because what are we really conveying here? An elephant looking at you. How do you really convey that in a creative way? What's the complexity you need? And it's going to be different for different people. It's going to be different for you depending on the mood you're in, the physical state. All kinds of things will determine the complexity you need at that time to convey your creative thoughts. Okay, and there's this dude who thought about this, and this is his thoughts on it. I'm not going to imply what he meant because I'm not him, but I think this is a great, again, squaring the circle on complexity and simplicity. Make it as simple as you need, but not simpler. Use the complexity that you need, but nothing more. And I love this phrase, and I'll let Sam pronounce his name.
Antoine Exuper.
And explain who he is.
So he was a French writer, poet, and aviator, and he wrote the book Le Petit Prince, so The Little Prince, which is based, it's aimed at children, but it's not really just for children. He also illustrated the book with his own watercolors, and it's about a pilot stranded in the desert who meets a young prince who fell to Earth from an asteroid. So the book is very simple, but actually it really speaks to the complexity in the adult world and how we overcomplicate the world. So it's quite interesting. It's a very short read if you're interested. But he's well known for keeping things simple as well, just because of everything that he's done from his background as an aviator as well. Who's heard of this? What does it mean?
Keep it simple, stupid.
So you all said similar things, yeah. So keep it simple, stupid. Anybody heard anything else?
Keep it super simple.
Keep it super simple. Keep it small and straightforward. Keep it small and simple. Keep it simple, sailor. Keep it simple, soldier. So there's lots of variations, and it's been used a lot, but it's generally attributed to an aircraft designer called Kelly Johnson. I don't know if anybody's heard of him. So he was a lead engineer for Lockheed Skunk Works and helped develop the Bluebird spy plane and others aircraft. But he led this team of design engineers, and he basically said to the engineers, what I want you to do is to design a jet aircraft that can be easily maintained by a general mechanic in the field under combat conditions, but with a small set of tools. And that's what they came up with. So the principle is all around simplicity and keeping it simple and having nothing more. But But it's used a lot in the military. I think it's used a lot in the tech world. It's also used a lot in education and training. As a learning and development professional, we always try and think about the 3-point messages when we're doing presentations and doing speeches and messages. You know, what are the 3 key messages you want people to walk away with? You know, don't overcomplicate your presentations or speeches with lots of information. It just gets lost. So keeping it simple, stupid. And it's also relevant to other facets of our life as well. So thinking about going to the gym. I know we have a few CrossFitters here, and shout out to Kits at CrossFit. But you go to CrossFit and there's lots of exercises there, and they might seem very simple, but actually they're quite complex. But you keep it simple and you do what you can do to the best ability that you can do it. You know, what you can do for your body. And that's what it boils down to. So some people will be lifting over 200 pounds, some others, you know, less so. But that's fine, you're sort of keeping it simple.
Cool.
And in other facets of our life?
So starting in the military and just how it's applicable. So when we, thanks to your tax laws, had the joy of living overseas, this is how we lived, right? You can see the houses, our living quarters were pretty straightforward, easy to build. They got rid of all the grass for us, so we didn't have to worry about cutting it. And then inside, this is how we lived, right? And on one hand, you're like, oh my God, how can I live like that? Well, I'm going to tell you something. There's so much going on, and you need to focus on your job and what you need to do. But if you take away all the distractions, I don't have grass, I don't have kitty cats to feed, and all this other stuff, my food's taken care of, I don't wash my clothes, all my bills are paid for me. All right, you can truly focus and do what you need to do. There isn't a single distraction telling you to pulling your attention from what you need to do, which is in reality take care of your people, right? More bottom line. And it was wonderful, and it seems like it'd be a horrible situation, and there were some horrible things, but when it's all said and done, it's also liberating. It's freedom. All right, it's getting to the essence, I think someone said, of what you really need. Okay, it was simple. All right, and then that even goes to your dress, right? So when it all boils down to it, you know, it was easy to figure out what to wear every day. You wore the same thing, and I didn't worry about washing it. But again, getting back to the complexity you need. Now you can see I was worried about preserving certain organs, where Sam decided, you know what? Armor was too complex. She didn't wear it. You can see she's like giggles in the face of death there, right? She didn't wear armor. So, But even then, she decided that even her blouse, her shirt, was too much of a hassle. So she boiled it down to what she really needed. So that's Sam.
And you thought it's just the US that has problems with guns.
Yeah. She's just like, this is what I need. This is all I'm carrying. So that was her. So, but it seems crazy. It was an awful situation in some respects, but on the other hand, it was very, very freedom. Okay.
Yeah, and there's a reason why presidents have housekeepers and valets that, you know, put out their dress every day, and it's less decision that they have. It's, you know, less decision making for them, so they just focus on what they really need.
All right, living. So how do you integrate simplicity in living, and what does that look like? Because I think we all have lives that are probably maybe a little bit more complex than we really need, right? Probably than what we really want. Well, here it is. And if you haven't heard of Charles Dudley Warner, and I'm going to tell you, I never heard of this dude before I found this quote, but he was a novelist, he traveled a lot, and he hung out with Mark Twain. They were buddies, okay? So, but this is his cut. Take just enough baggage, right? And again, back in that age when you had big steam trunks and wool clothing, you know, everything weighed a lot, right? But this is a great sentiment. Take the baggage you need. Take the complexity you need. Don't bring, and this is tough in our society, in a capitalist society that says, buy, you need this. If you're not, you're going to be miserable unless you have this. This is tough, but be focused on this. And how does this apply, right? Well, so those who know that we enjoy hiking, and I've been on a few long hikes, right? The bottom line is, and this is, again, you're in the situation where you're like sleeping in the ground and you're worried about bugs and bears and attack deer and all these things that you have, hey, that happened, okay? All these things that are true, but everything you need, you boil it down to what you can carry on your back. And again, and it boils down to, what am I worried about? Finding water, finding a level spot to put my tent. and that's it. And when it comes to being creative, when you're hiking, every other distraction's gone. It allows you to think. It allows you to be innovative. You're having conversations with, and by the way, no one cares who you are or what you do off the trail. You even get a trail name, right? So every aspect of baggage is gone. And you can be creative. And the thoughts you have while hiking are so radically different than the thoughts you have while sitting in your house worried about is your macaroni boiling, right? Very different. It's liberating. It's wonderful. So, and this is Sam, our friend, and Chip woman who always followed us. But you can see this is everything that we needed, and it's all on their back. It's wonderful. And then you talk about in nature. Nature is complex. Yes, nature seems very complex, but in reality, there are some rules to nature that are extremely simple. All right, and Isaac Newton picked up on them. Okay, but is anybody familiar with this? What is it? The golden ratio. And you see it all throughout nature. It is one of the core building blocks of nature. And what it is a ratio of 1 to 1.618, right? You see it in the nautilus shell. You see it in sunflowers. You see it in fractals. And when you look at it, and the Greeks determined, when they were building their architecture, that ratio, they settled on that ratio, and it's not like they studied Fibonacci sequence. They said, this is beautiful. And it is the same ratio all throughout nature, the building block. And though it is so simple, it creates the beauty you see. And even the human face, like what is considered the perfect ratio for the human face? Well, width to height, 1 to 1.68. All right, and then you start deviating more elephant-like. But the bottom line is, it is everywhere. Nature in reality is very simple, but it builds what appears to be complex, and it builds what is beautiful.
Yeah, picking up on what Jenny and Rachel discussed at the beginning there. So just to summarize then, simplicity, yeah, it's about getting rid of all that noise, but making it relevant for you and what's important for you so that you can move your way forward and live your life the way that you want to do. So some questions for you to take away today and to ponder around. Thinking about, where do you have complexity in your life? What does it look like? Where are you spending your time and energy? What's causing you stress and anxiety? And once you can identify some of these areas, try and identify next, well, what can I start to simplify? How can I start to do that? What does that look like? And what action am I going to take?
Yeah. Bottom line is, simplicity doesn't mean non-complexity. Carry what you need and nothing more. So you can be free. Free to think, free to live, free your mind, free your spirit, and be creative.
Thank you, everybody.